required to dribble that way. So they went from, first time they tried it was here, didn't really like, just falling over or whatever. So now activity 4, they still have to dribble with the sole of their foot the whole time. And so now it's game-like inside a situation. Does that make sense? So they're getting game-like repetition. And then you would end up doing this, is it 3 or 6? I think it's 6 different times before you would move on. So hopefully from this time to time 6 is drastically different. So I would expect this to be really messy, like honest, and I would want it to be really messy the first probably 1 to 3 times you do it. And then by 4, 5, 6, so again, this is intro, okay, we overload them a bit, okay, we repeat that, overload them again, now we're starting to get mastery. Does that answer your question a little bit better, Lex? Or you provide feedback to your statement? Okay, is that, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. Questions on that or other statements? Because I think that's a great statement.
I have a good question.
Yeah.
As natural, it will be kids that they're better than other kids, right? So in that case, you have like 13 kids out of the 13, 7 did great. Do we do again, repeat with the other kids that didn't do it?
Make them do it faster. Right? Because ultimately,
It always happened.
So what Michael is trying to say, like the kids that have mastered, they can do it faster, and the others can just repeat.
yes.
Okay.
Ultimately, a U9 is not going to be at the top level of rolling the ball. Like,
And hopefully our teams are, or 8 teams, they're all about the same level. The
Yes.
B teams are all about the same level and so forth.
correct. Okay, great stuff on that, guys. So now as we move into activity 4, small-sided game. I got some questions on this, but ask away. Nothing. What did we do? Give me, Brad, what did you guys do for activity 4?
4-box Bugs Bunny.
Okay, explain that to me.
So those 4 boxes that I built for my people area, they're actually adjoined, so they're all shared.
Is that, yes? Yeah, they're shared borders.
Is
so
the
we're
box
okay.
just
The
split
lines are
into
shared.
4?
So 1 box, it's divided.
I got you. Okay.
Full baby stuff.
So it's like 4 squares.
Divided into 4 teams.
4 teams of what?
Well, how many do you have?
How many are in
Make it
your
ideal.
So let's go 3 in each team.
In each box,
So 3 players in each box, so 4 teams of 3.
all green or half green, half black?
4 different teams, so I've got
Okay, I got you.
all different colors.
Okay.
So then, each team, you own that box, that's your box, you want the ball in your box. If the ball is in a neighboring box, you can send 1 player in to.
And there's 1 ball?
1 ball. You send 1 player in to go and retrieve the ball, to win it from them, so you're gonna have 2 players in, because you don't go from the corner. So X's wouldn't go to triangles,
Okay. Just the neighboring box?
just neighboring boxes. Triangle it back and play it into your box, and then maintain position in your box.
Okay, so kind of capture the ball. Okay, so going off of the small scale game, complexity. Expand on that, Jose, because we've talked about this a lot.
Oh, that was.
1V space. What does that mean?
You got me there. I don't want B space. I don't recall that, Michael.
Say it again, Dustin.
No defender or very, very light pressure behind you?
No defender. So we talked about at the beginning, a player cannot dribble without pressure to a goal. Okay, so in this activity, the very first time would be 1 versus space.
Space.
Okay, defender's position is, so we gotta start back here, behind the attacker. How do they have to dribble? and just worked on it for 15 minutes. So they have to use the sole of their foot to roll the ball. Cannot use inside, cannot use outside, cannot use toe. It's all sole of the foot. Apply a skill if you want to. Okay, so between here and there, they have to do a feint, wall rolling the ball, and then if you add a goal in, when they strike it, it has to be inside center center. So ultimately, the next time, let's say the defender is next to them, it would be the same thing, trying to get to space, and then the third one would be defender in front of them. That would be how to apply what's in there to the small-sided activity. Comments, concerns, thoughts, questions, not to disregard Brad's game, but that's how you would apply that in there.
Maybe it's just me, but when I see small side, when I read small sided, I think of group of players playing. Does that make sense? Maybe because, you know.
Well, that comes from the UYSA, that's how
So
they used to train.
how would you make this, because small-sided is 1v1.
Yeah.
How would you make this high repetition without a lot of space?
There's actually a quarter game in some of that.
And I would just do 2 groups. Because how many kids do you have on your team? 12? So there's 6. And I would just make it like flank changes, probably the easiest way.
Yeah.
Now ultimately, as they get older, they'll get 2v2, 2v1 with, because we did this, me and Bailey did this all last winter. Or was it 2 winters ago? I think it was last winter, right? Well, the futsal games with,
Oh, yeah.
last winter, Dustin?
So, Michael, since we are, the dribbling, we are teaching sole of the foot, in this exercise, do you think we're expecting them to
Yes.
roll it?
So what I would do is say, okay. you
Which
cannot-
is an unnatural thing to
Correct.
do, right?
100%. So if you just ask them to go from that and said, okay, play, what are they gonna do?
They're gonna,
Whatever's easiest.
yeah.
Force them to have to use the sole of their foot. Or let's say it's outside. Okay, you have to use the outside. The next thing I would do is the first time I'd say, okay, do it right foot. Game, left foot. Now you can use both feet. It's not like forcing them to use left, forcing them to use right. Otherwise, like I laugh at how much we spend, okay, do a step over, do a step over, do a step over. And then you go to a game and you ask them to do it in a game, and how many of them will do it?
Right.
10%. So, okay, now we ask them to roll the ball, and you have to do a body feint as well with it. So we're forcing them inside of a game environment to do it. Does that answer the question on small-sided activity or the session layout? Okay. Activity 5, this is where it gets played. So complexity, start out 77. If you're a 9v9 team, you start out 9v9. That's the only change. FIFA and street rules, what do you think the difference is? Dustin talked about it because you were there.
FIFA, you just follow all the rules, street rules, you let the players kind of dictate themselves. Make it a lot more scrappy, fight for the ball, you kick that off down, say, heck no, that's my ball, grab it first, and let them figure it out on their own.
Okay, perfect. So FIFA, normal soccer game. Offsides, throw-ins, corner kicks, all that stuff. Ball goes out, it's the other team's ball. Street rules makes our kids a little more competitive. Like, okay, I kick the ball out, and it's near me, I'm gonna freaking go grab it and play. Like teaching them to have that, because our younger kids don't naturally have that. So teaching them a little bit
You know what,
more.
that's actually something good that I'm learning today, because I've been thinking about how can I teach some kids, they are just like
Soft.
like David was like
Say it
like
soft. Say it one more time.
like
Soft.
he's just like they're like oh, it's out.
Here,
And
here, you
then
take the
there's
ball and
will,
throw
we'll
it
just
over my
grab it
head.
and keep going, right? So, but that's good because that will allow those kids to go outside of that
Yes.
honesty box that they have and just go straight.
So when we were in Northwest Conference League, we were playing Impact, and, ball was, down the line. The AR didn't get there quick enough. Ball was a solid yard over the goal line. Evan whipped it anyways, Joaquin came in, scored the goal,
Yeah.
and they gave it. And he felt bad, I was like, dude, it's not on you to do with the AR, like, that's her job, right? So, I mean, feel how you wanna feel about it, but I'm a massive fan of creating that competitive through street rules all the time. Like, I'll take it and go, cause that's what I want them to do in a game.
I think it's a good example. I think the easiest one for me is, okay, I kicked it out of bounds, I picked the ball up and I give it to you to throw it over my head.
Yeah.
Like, for me, it's just teaching them that like gamesmanship and that type of stuff. So, as we move on, so in this is where you would start to implement your tactics. So the disorganized phase is basically the build out phase. So, hey, I wanna start working on my build out. Am I gonna build with 2? Am I gonna build with 3? What are we looking to do? The the group that I'm working with is in the defending half, and it's my goalkeeper and my defenders, or my goalkeeper, defender, midfielders.
Right.
And then, starting situation, goalkeeper has the ball. Maybe next time it's a throw in, maybe next time it's a free kick, or it's a live play, and you've gotta figure out how to do it. But the simplest one would be goalkeeper starts with the ball, and then the opponent, line of confrontation, is build out line. Most time, 99, 77, they start at the box, or the build out line is rush, go. So I would start out really simple with 1 defender. And then to overload it, you would go to 2. And then repeat, do 2 again, and then probably go to 3. And then that's what you would work on your tactics, your team, inside of that session. That's where you can stop, coach, do all that fun stuff. Questions on that portion?
So,
Yes.
on the other one, I think we have like a midfield half.
Yep.
Are you doing like halves, are you doing thirds, are you doing general
It's up to you.
areas?
Honestly, I don't split the field up, except for halves almost for me. It's like if I'm trying to build in, I don't start in the defensive third, I'm actually trying to get into the midfield third, if that makes sense, or even the attacking third sometimes. So for me, it's more, that's your ending spot, would be like, or your starting spot, it would depend. But to me, that's more just progression. Like, okay, if we're working on finishing, we're probably gonna start in the midfield half or the midfield third. But I don't have a set, like, it's gotta be this third or that third, and you gotta get here, get there. Like, it's more what you feel is good for your team. Cause you may be working on a super high press, and we wanna get into the attacking half. Like, working on your goalkeeper with a nice little clip. I'm totally good with that. More clear on building your session for these younger age groups. Comments, concerns, questions, a lot of info.
You know, 65-minute training session here, where'd you get 65 from?
It's just more of the timing of what.
You get the hour and a half, I think everyone here will take the hour and a half spot.
So part of it is you're gonna have water breaks, you're gonna have coaching points, like this is more playtime. So like in this 4-minute game, you're probably gonna stop and coach for a little bit. So now it becomes 6 instead of 4, and so on. Just find a seat, no worries, bro, you're good, we haven't started yet, this is the last one.
And
Yes,
then,
sir.
so game implementation, in my head, I wanted longer time, so so there's flow, so it's not this 4 minutes
Yes.
on, 2 minutes
Yep.
off. Do we implement that later? Cause I usually scrimmage for the last 20 minutes, fairly uninterrupted.
So this right here is to help them stay at the highest possible level. If you go longer than that,
Higher speed of play.
higher quality for a shorter period of time, stop, talk, high quality, that's the reason behind it. Now to say, okay, I feel like my team, because you've got 2012s, I can probably do 6 minutes, you probably could. Like, that's just more of a guideline, because we've got some people doing, and I don't know, but I've seen people do 12, and after 6 minutes, they're like, and coach is like, what are we doing, guys, we're gonna work, and it's like, well, they physically after a whole training session, if that makes sense. But more, again, guideline to help, but as a coach, like, okay, my team can go a little more, they need a little less, I'm totally cool with that. Other comments?
Does this, kind of fit, we had talked about doing, scrimmages between two different teams at the very end.
Perfect, 77, right there, or 99, because you're a 99 team. So again, just make sure it's 99, and then the second week, you would go to 77 instead of 5v5. And then you would go to 5v5 for 99 team. Does that make sense? So first week, your scrimmage at the end would be 7s, or 9s, sorry.
Yeah.
Then
Minus
7s,
2.
and then 5. For the 99, or 77, it's 7, 5, and 3.
You want to explain why it goes down?
Take a guess, Christine, fitness lady.
Too much overload?
Too much overload for what?
Like, to go week by week if they're continuing to
Okay,
scrimmage?
yeah, somewhat. What's easier, 77 or 3v3? On physical load, you say 77, why?
There's less movements.
Perfect, less interactions. So you start out the highest, least interactions and work your way down.
So last year we had it 77, let's say on Tuesday, and Thursday would be like a 5v5, back to 7v7, 3v3, why the switch?
Talking to Raymond Verheyen, just suggested this, it was better for the kids. Now, the older kids, that's different, but the younger kids, this is what he suggested, based on his research. Okay, let's go over questions really quick and then we'll move on to coaching ed. Activity 2 and 3, timing of them, how do we combine different activities? Did we answer that question for you guys? If I didn't, raise your hand. How about that? Okay, activity 4, setup of small-sided games, 1v1 or what? I think we answered that. Okay, how do we apply objectives at the bottom of the final game? That was the last thing we just kind of went over. What does the following mean? We went over that. Example of a motor skill game, we went over that. Explain the boxes, we did that the whole time. How does the session progress? So warm up, technical work, small sided game, end game, and then you said how we implement. Does that answer your question? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Pre-Academy. Appreciate it, guys. All right, on to the next one.
Four square.
We need a 2-minute bathroom break, water break. Are we okay? Seems like we're okay. Perfect.
So, Michael, so pre-academy is done right now?
Pre-academy done. This is for everybody coaching ed. After this, pre-academy can peace out. Okay, you're up.